Royal Nemesis episode 4 fully embraces romantic comedy energy for most of its runtime, delivering some of the series' funniest and most charming moments so far, ending on a noticeably more emotional and dramatic note. The episode mainly focuses on Sige slowly realizing that he has fallen for Shiori, while Shiori herself continues struggling with insecurity, survival, and complicated reality of depending on someone else's kindness. What makes this episode work especially well is how naturally the chemistry between the leads develop. After agreeing to work together, Sige and Shiori immediately fall back into their usual bickering dynamic. Even simple scenes like Sige giving Shiori water to help soothe the mark left by her slap wound becomes loaded with awkward tension and denial. Sige clearly starts recognizing his growing feelings, but instead of accepting them, he spirals into confusion and even consults his secretary about what he is experiencing. Meanwhile, Shiori interprets his behavior completely different. Rather than suspecting romantic interest, she is told that Sige may simply be acting like a supportive fan. That misunderstanding creates much of the episode's comedy because both characters are emotionally moving in totally different directions without realizing it. The puppy subplot also becomes an unexpectedly effective way of bringing them closer together. When Shiori reunites with the puppy from the previous episode, she immediately takes responsibility for carrying it despite her already difficult circumstances. Later, after being summoned to the police station, she cleverly passes the puppy on to Sigi, arguing that the dog deserves a more comfortable life than she can provide. The funniest part is that Sige quietly accepts despite secretly being allergic to dog. Moments like this are where the episode shines most. Instead of relying purely on exaggerated comedy, the series uses small acts of sacrifice and discomfort to show affection growing organically between the characters. Sige constantly helps Shiori while pretending not to care, and that emotional contradiction makes him increasingly endearing. Shiori's career storyline also adds a lot of entertaining energy to the episode. She officially signs with Sige's company and receives her first acting opportunity, which leads to several hilarious scenes where she studies famous television dramas and recreates iconic acting moments herself. Those sequences gives the episode a lighter, playful rhythm while also reinforcing Shiori's determination to succeed, despite how overwhelmed she feels in this unfamiliar world. But the emotional highlight of the episode easily comes from the letter Shiori writes to Sige. What could have been a simple appreciation note become one of the episode's funniest and sweetest sequence because of Sige's reaction. He's visibly emotional upon receiving it, but desperately tries to hide how much it means to him. Later, he goes home and painstakingly translates the hanja into modern Korean himself. Then comes a misunderstanding that completely destroys his composure. He accidentally reads, "My fan is my man," convincing himself for a brief moment that Shiori is confessing her love to him. The scene perfectly captures the episode's romantic tone because Sige suddenly transforms from composed executive to hopelessly excited man in love almost instantly. And honestly, his emotion downfall is adorable to watch. The reason the romance works so well here is because Sige's feeling develop believably. The show carefully builds his attraction through repeated acts of concern, admiration, and emotional curiosity rather than forcing sudden dramatic declaration. By the time he nearly confessed towards the end of the episode, it feels earned. However, the final section of episode 4 deliberately shifts away from comedy into heavier emotional territory. Shiori's conflict with Sige and his grandfather over her grandmother's shop introduces a much harsher reality into the story. At the same time, Shiori begins realizing that Sige initially helped her party out of pity rather than pure admiration. That realization deeply hurts her because Shiori desperately wants to be valued as an equal rather than treated as someone helpless. Promising help if Shiori becomes romantically involved with Sige immediately darkens the atmosphere. The fact that this mirrors the same manipulation Shiori experienced in her past life creates an unsettling emotional parallel that hints the series may soon dive deeper into themes of fate, exploitation, and repeated emotional cycle. That tonal shift is important because it prevents the drama from becoming too lightweight. While episode 4 spends most of its runtime building adorable romantic tension, the ending reminds viewer that Shiori still carries emotional scars and unresolved struggles that cannot simply disappear through romance alone. The series seems increasingly interested in exploring whether genuine love can exist without power imbalance or emotional dependency, complicating things. Performance wise, both leads continue carrying the show effortlessly. Lim gives Shiori a strong balance of humor and vulnerability. Um, The episode's strongest aspect overall is probably how lovable Sige becomes. Watching him deny his feelings, secretly treasure Shiori's letter, and suffer through dog allergies and completely misread romantic signals turns him into the emotional center of the episode. Even though Shiori may not fully reciprocate his feelings yet, the show makes it obvious that their emotional connection is steadily becoming unavoidable. By the end of episode 4, My Royal Nemesis proves it can balance romantic comedy and emotional drama surprisingly well. Beneath the misunderstanding, playful banter, and sweet puppets lies a growing sadness surrounding Shiori's loneliness and the fear of being valued only when useful. Thank you for watching. Bye.